When setting up your litter pan, you're going to have to make some decisions on what type of litter to put in your litter pan. Our favorite type is the KT potty litter. I like this for a couple different reasons, which it looks like this. But one of the main reasons why I like the KT brand is that it doesn't have, has very little dust. You can see it's also very small. So if your hedgehog should happen to eat the litter, which is a possibility, it will pass through easily. It's a bentonite clay, so it is non-toxic, non-harmful. There is a critter litter, which is bigger in pellets. It comes in a bigger bag, but I personally prefer the smaller potty litter versus the larger critter litter pellets. I did use a whole box of litter in the litter pan. So there's a nice little layer. To start off with, allow your hedgehog to get the litter a little bit dirty in the beginning before you start cleaning it. It's not always necessary to empty the whole litter pan every time you clean it. You can spot clean. So there will be more tips on litter pan training in another video, but for right now, our favorite type of litter is the KT potty litter because less dust, small size, and it's relatively inexpensive. Another litter option is pine shavings. This is my personal favorite type of pine shavings. It's very small pieces. It is highly filtered so that it doesn't have the dust as a lot of normal shavings are. There are a lot of pros and cons, and you'll read a lot of different things about shavings, pine shavings, aspen shavings, different types. But for this video, this is an example of the type of shavings that we use because it is filtered at small pieces. It is not practical for us to use a fleece lining in all of our cages because we do have quite a few cages, and babies tend to be a little bit messier than the adults. So we do use this in the bottom of the whole cage, which you can also do. It does make a mess when you're picking up your hedgehog, which is why for pet homes I like to use the fleece. But if you're out of options and you can't find the other things, you can use a small filtered pine shavings in your litter pan. Another one of my favorite litter pan options or bedding options is a pelleted pine or pelleted corncob. One of the advantages, it's relatively inexpensive. It is fairly neat and tidy. You can use it on the bottom of your whole cage if you so desire. I don't think it's as neat as the fleece, but again, it is an option. One thing about this type of bedding is when it gets wet, it breaks down into a powder. You can kind of see it in the bottom, which is what you want because again, your hedgehog might eat its bedding just out of curiosity, or especially in the beginning. If your hedgehog should happen to eat this type of bedding, either pelleted pine, pelleted aspen, pelleted corncob, it will break down into a powder and pass through your hedgehog's digestive tract without causing a problem. Be extremely cautious when using paper products, pelleted paper of any type. Yesterday's News is one of the top well-known pelleted paper, but keep in mind, pelleted paper swells when it gets wet. So if your hedgehog should ingest the pelleted paper, it can cause an impaction, which will then cause your hedgehog to stop eating. And I have had customers that have reported fatalities using pelleted paper. So again, pelleted corncob, pelleted pine, pelleted aspen is a good option. Pelleted paper of any kind is not a good option. Another litter pan option or cage, bottom of the cage option is the fluffy paper bedding. This happens to be a brand called Boxo. I have personally found it to be the most cost-effective version of litter, but certainly there are lots of other brands that are just as good. One thing to realize when you buy a bedding like this, it is compressed, so a small amount of bedding expands into a lot of fluff. One of the advantage is that it's soft, it's comfortable, provides lots of digging options for your hedgehogs. You can layer it. However, one of the disadvantages of this type of bedding in the bottom of your cage is that it's messy. But again, perfectly safe, relatively economical. It doesn't have the dust, at least this brand doesn't have the dust that a shavings would have. So another perfectly fine bedding option is a fluffy paper bedding, such as the Boxo paper. Another nesting and bedding option is a shredded paper, processed paper. This is one of my favorite brands of eco bedding. It comes in different colors. One nice thing about the eco bedding is a little bit goes a long ways. I do like it in the bottom of the cage as a bedding, because when you pick your hedgehog up and the bedding sticks to it, it's relatively easy to pull the larger pieces of paper off your hedgehog or to clean up compared to a fluffy paper. In a litter pan, not sure that this is my favorite idea, because it will track it other places, and this bedding is designed to be used in a thicker layer than what you can use in a litter pan. I personally use this type of bedding in our litter, or our nesting boxes, excuse me, because the hedgehogs can easily make a nest. Some of them make a nest immediately, some of them it takes a couple days, but a little bit of bedding, this grows. So this started out as just a small handful of bedding. The more the hedgehog digs in it, the more you play with it, the fluffier it gets. So a little bit goes a long way. It is dust-free, it's generally eco-friendly. People have asked if it's the same bedding that you can get, say, at the Dollar Tree in the party section for putting in with gifts and things. I personally would stay away from that and would stick to something that is designed to use for animal bedding, because of the unknown dyes and processing procedures that could be harmful to your pet. So this type of bedding is not that expensive for the amount of bedding that you get. So I would stay on the safe side rather than trying to use a cheaper bedding from, for example, the Dollar Tree.